Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep into API automation.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, we'll be comparing Karate and RestAssured.
Okay.
These are two pretty popular frameworks that can help you automate all that API testing.
Yeah.
It can save you some time.
For sure.
And make sure that things are running smoothly.
Absolutely.
So you can almost think of API automation like...
Like what?
Having a robot assistant.
Okay.
That just checks that all the behind-the-scenes
Right.
interactions in your software are all working perfectly.
Okay. Yeah. I like that analogy.
So we've got a whole bunch of articles and research that will help us really break down the strengths and weaknesses of each of these frameworks.
Nice.
Our mission today is to really try to help you figure out which one of these is the best fit for your own needs.
Awesome.
You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So one of the things that really surprised me when I was doing the research is that Karate actually takes a no-code approach to API testing.
Oh, wow.
So that means that even if you're not like a coding wizard,
Right.
you can still use Karate to test your APIs.
That's really cool.
What's interesting, too, is that Karate is really like an all-in-one tool.
Oh, how so?
It can handle API testing,
Okay.
UI automation,
Nice.
performance testing,
Wow.
and even mocking.
So you can really streamline your workflow.
You got it?
And avoid jumping between all these different tools.
Yeah, exactly.
For all these different types of tests.
For sure, and I think that's a big advantage.
Right.
Especially for smaller teams.
Yeah.
That don't have all the resources to like learn and manage a bunch of different tools.
Exactly. And the no-code aspect of Karate is something that really sets it apart.
Yeah, for sure.
It uses this language called Gherkin,
which
is basically a way to write your tests in plain English.
Oh, interesting.
So you can it's almost like writing a to-do list.
Okay.
For your API. That's kind of what Gherkin is like.
So even team members that aren't programmers.
Right.
Can kind of understand and contribute to the testing process.
Yeah, and it's really useful when you're testing like complex scenarios with lots of change requests.
Like what?
So imagine like if you're building an e-commerce application where you have to like add items to the cart and then you have to enter payment information and then you have to process the order.
Okay, so each step depends on the step before it.
Exactly, yeah.
So how does Karate handle that?
Karate makes it really easy to chain these requests together.
Okay.
And it can even take the data from one response and use it in the next one.
Oh, so it's kind of like a domino effect?
Exactly.
Where one action kind of triggers the next?
That's a great way to think about it.
So what's great about that is that you don't have to write all this complex code to make it happen.
And the source material that we're looking at, it actually includes a code snippet that shows just how simple and readable Karate syntax is. Even if you're not a programmer, you can look at it, get a sense of what's going on.
So while Karate is very user-friendly, we also have RestAssured. Which has really been around for a while in the API testing world.
It's kind of a staple.
It is.
RestAssured is a Java-based library. So it's a natural choice for teams that are already working heavily with Java.
So if my team was building like a Java application. And we were using tools like Spring or Junit. RestAssured would just fit right in.
Absolutely. It integrates really seamlessly with that whole Java ecosystem.
And one of the biggest strengths of RestAssured, I think, is its robustness.
It's very robust.
It has a really vast library ecosystem. And it offers really strong support for something called schema validation.
Oh, yeah, schema validation.
So you break down schema validation for me.
Sure. So basically schema validation, make sure that the data your API is sending out is in the correct format. So imagine like you're sending out addresses. Schema validation would check that each address has all the parts. The street address, the city, state, zip code.
So it's like having that quality control check.
Exactly.
To make sure that the data is consistent and reliable.
That's exactly what it is.
And that's got to be really important when you're working with APIs.
Oh, yeah. Especially
used by other applications.
Absolutely. So now that we have a basic understanding of both these frameworks, where do we go from here?
Well, now it's time to compare them head to head. And see how they stack up. In terms of performance, ease of use, all those other factors that are really important when you're choosing the right tool.
I'm ready. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
When it comes to actually like creating the tests and maintaining them, Karate really shines.
Okay.
Especially for teams that might not have, a ton of Java developers.
Right.
So our research actually shows that it takes about 15 minutes to put together a really basic test suite in Karate.
Okay.
But with RestAssured, it takes like 25 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the speed advantage really becomes even more pronounced when you're dealing with people who might not be super fluent in Java.
Right. So for someone like me, who's more comfortable with like plain English than like hardcore Java syntax, Karate would be easier.
Definitely.
And because Karate uses that gherkin language that we talked about earlier, the tests themselves are just super readable.
Yeah, they really are.
It's almost like you're reading a set of instructions, just written in plain English.
Exactly.
So if the tests are easy to understand, they should also be easier to maintain, right?
You got it. That's exactly right.
Okay, cool.
And that's a big win for like smaller to medium-sized projects where you might not have like dedicated QA teams. The developers might be wearing multiple hats.
That's a good point. But what about larger projects?
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think that the structure of RestAssured, even though it might be more code heavy, could actually be an advantage?
It definitely could be.
When you're dealing with like a really massive test suite?
Absolutely. RestAssured gives you a more formal framework for organizing and managing like really complex test suites. And then also, like, let's not forget about IDE support.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So RestAssured is really deeply integrated with Java. So you get really excellent support from all the popular IDEs, which can really speed up development and debugging.
So it sounds like there's kind of a trade-off there. Where Karate is faster. And more readable for smaller projects. But RestAssured might be a better choice. For larger projects. Where that structure and the IDE support are really important.
Exactly. Now, what about performance?
How do they stack up? In terms of actually running the tests?
So based on what we've seen, the actual like execution time is remarkably close.
Oh, wow.
So in one specific project, we looked at Karate completed 100 tests in about 45 seconds. While RestAssured did it in 40 seconds.
So pretty much a tie.
Yeah, pretty much.
In terms of raw performance.
Yes. Yeah, at least based on that particular project. But, it's important to remember that performance can always vary depending on how complex your tests are and the environment that you're running them in.
That makes sense. So what about the learning curve?
Oh, yeah.
For each framework? Like if I'm just starting out with API testing, which one would be easier to pick up?
So as you might expect,
Karate is a bit more user-friendly. So it has a faster learning curve. We're estimating that someone with no experience could become proficient in Karate in like 2 to 3 days.
Wow.
RestAssured, on the other hand, might take 4 to 5 days for Java developers. And even longer. For people who aren't familiar with Java.
So Karate definitely has the advantage there. If you're just trying to get up and running quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about some specific features?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Are there any areas where one framework just really excels over the other?
Let's look at a feature called data-driven testing.
Data-driven testing? I'm not familiar with that term.
So basically, data-driven testing is this really cool technique that lets you run the same test multiple times with different data. So for example, like if you're testing a user registration API, you could use data-driven testing. To run that test with different usernames and passwords and email addresses. That sounds like it would save a ton of time.
It definitely can. And both Karate and RestAssured actually do a really good job of implementing data-driven testing. But they approach it in very different ways.
Interesting. So tell me more about that.
So with Karate, data-driven testing is very intuitive. You can actually define your test data right in that gherkin feature file using just like a simple table format. And this keeps everything organized, makes it super easy for anyone to understand, even if they're not a programmer.
So it's almost like embedding a spreadsheet right into your test file.
And the source material we have actually has a really good example of this. They use a table to define all these usernames and email addresses to test like a user creation API.
That sounds pretty cool. How does RestAssured handle it?
So RestAssured relies on more traditional Java mechanisms for data-driven testing.
Right.
So you could use like loops to iterate through the data, or you can use a feature in a testing framework like TestNG called a data provider. Which basically just feeds different sets of data into your test method.
So it sounds like RestAssured gives you a lot more flexibility.
It does.
But you might need to understand a bit more Java.
Yeah, you need to understand Java a lot more.
To really take advantage of it.
Yeah, and the source material also has an example of how to do this with RestAssured using TestNG's data provider. It's a bit more code heavy than the Karate example. But it shows you just how much control and customization you can really get with RestAssured.
So it seems like when you're choosing between them for data-driven testing, it really depends on your team's comfort level with Java and how complex your testing needs really are.
Absolutely. And this leads us to a very important question.
What's that?
How do you decide which framework is right for you?
Okay, that's a good point, because we've covered a lot.
We have.
So it's time to kind of put it all together. And give our listeners some actual advice.
Yeah, so fortunately, the research we have actually includes a really helpful decision framework. That we can kind of walk through.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
So it lays out some clear choose X if guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break that down and make it real for our listeners.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's talk decisions.
Okay, yeah.
So if you're aiming for speed, you want to get your tests up and running quickly. Karate seems like the way to go.
It really does, especially if your team has people who maybe aren't expert coders. The simplicity of karate
can be like a real game changer.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people forget about karate's built-in mocking capabilities.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
You can simulate API responses even if the API isn't even ready yet.
Exactly, which is great during development.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you need to do like a bunch of tests at the same time, like parallel testing, Karate handles that really well.
Right out of the box.
You got it. No need to set up anything complicated.
So if speed, simplicity, and parallel testing are all really important to you, Karate seems like a strong contender.
It does. But what if you're working on a project that's like really deep in Java?
Then RestAssured might be.
Yeah, it might be a more natural fit.
Especially if you need that tight integration with other Java frameworks like Spring and Junit.
Exactly. And if your testing involves like a lot of complex unit testing, RestAssured gives you
that fine-grained control and customization.
Yeah, you really might need that.
Yeah, you do.
For that kind of work.
And for people who really need to do specific and intricate validations on those API responses. RestAssured offers a ton of flexibility there.
It does.
And then for the folks who love IDE support, RestAssured has got you covered.
Yeah. For sure.
You get all the code completion. And the debugging tools that you could ask for.
That can really make your life easier.
They can.
So I think it really boils down to choosing the right tool for the job.
Exactly.
You have to think about your team skills, the project requirements, your overall testing strategy.
Yeah, that's the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
There's no one-size-fits-all answer. They're both really powerful tools.
They are.
Each with their own strengths.
I like to think of them as different tools in a toolbox.
That's a great way to look at it.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about.
All right.
You know, with API testing changing so quickly, what other factors might you consider when choosing a framework in the future?
That's a good question.
Things like AI. And machine learning.
Yeah, they're starting to play a bigger role in testing.
Exactly. And security is just becoming more and more critical.
Absolutely.
Especially in the API space.
Yeah, for sure. The landscape is always changing, so it's important to stay informed.
Yeah.
Be ready to adapt.
Yeah, love that.
As new technologies and new challenges come up.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this too.
Yeah.
Feel free to share your experiences, your insights with us.
Yeah, this is really just the beginning.
It is.
Of the conversation.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
On this deep dive into the world of API automation.
It's been fun.
With Karate and RestAssured.
For sure.
Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights today. To help you make more informed decisions.
Absolutely.
When it comes to your own API testing.
Yeah.
And remember, the best way to really know which tool is right for you is to get hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
and try them both out.
Absolutely.
Happy testing, everybody.
Yeah.